I have my very good friend in person of Aladi here on the channel, and we're going to spend the next couple of minutes just, basically talking about what it means to be a student in the US, and most importantly, what it means from going from being a student to being a working class. So, without further ado, I'd like to welcome my friend. Welcome, Aladi.
Thank you. Thank you.
She has disappeared for a while, but it's so good to have her back now because if you've been hanging around, you'll see that she's been posting some really really nice video just to catch us up on what she's been up to. But yeah, so are you ready to have this chat?
Yes, I'm ready. I was born ready.
Yeah, that makes
Hi,
sense. That makes
guys.
sense. Yeah. Before you continue watching this video, I'd like for you to go over to Aladis channel and see our most recent video about money and how she's pivoting from our regular content to something very, very different. I think we had a very lengthy conversation about navigating life and finance in America as an immigrant, and I think you're going to benefit a lot from the content of that video. So head over to our channel. I'm going to put the link to the video in the description box. I will put it in a card on the video somewhere here or there, and go watch that video. You're going to benefit a lot from it. Cheers. So let's just dive in real straight, okay? I know a couple of years ago that time traveled really fast. When I was about to graduate, we had a chat about, I think we talked about going for PhD or not going for PhD. And I was like, I told you I wasn't gonna go for PhD. I think you thought about it, but is there a reason why you decided to not go for PhD and just, pivot from being a student to being a working class? Can you just talk a little bit about that, and then we'll take the conversation from that point?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Augustus. So happy to be on this channel. It's been a long time. We
Yeah.
did collaboration, so happy to be back again. To your question, PhD is not something you just wake up and say, let me just do this thing. You have to be mentally ready, physically ready, like all types of ready. So at the time when I was in my final year of the grad program, I sat down, I even took GRE again and all that stuff, trying to
Ooh.
prepare, had my folder, PhD, bam, bam, bam. And then I sat down one day, I was like, I had this honest conversation with myself. Do you really want to do this at this point in time? Do you really want to do it? And then the answer was no. So I told myself it's either I get a job or I get a job or I go home. So I just abandoned that folder. That was the turning point. And I just
Yeah.
put all my energy into applying for
Getting a
jobs.
job.
And that was how I made that decision at that time. PhD is still in the plate for me, maybe in future, but I just
Oh.
wanted to make sure I'm doing PhD not to get immigration status. No shade, like if that's what you want to do it for that. But I want to be able to enjoy my PhD. I'm not saying you cannot enjoy your PhD if you go from master's to, but it just depends on what you want. But me
Yeah.
personally, it was not what I wanted at the time.
Yeah. So you said something that really that I could resonate with. And it was the idea of it's either I get a job or I get a job or I go home. I think I was at that point. I was done with school. You cannot pay me to stay in school when I left. Okay. And it wasn't so much of me not enjoying what I was doing. It was just I found myself in a really bad situation with like graduates, advisors, and the likes. So, but that's a different story for another time. And that's I want to use that to pivot into the next thing that I want us to talk about. So this is N of two. You said it's either I get a job or get a job or just go home. I had the same mindset too, and I think it did impacted how I approached my job hunting process, because at that point I knew that all my eggs were in a single basket. I have to get something, and you know how America works, where like OPT, your OPT is just running. If you don't get a job, you're done for. Because my friends were really asking me like, did you apply for PhD as a backup? And I was like, no, I did not.
No
I
backups.
truly, I truly did not. I don't know
That
what I
was
was.
me. That was me. No backups.
I don't know what I was drinking, but it was very strong. So I want us to talk about how you approach the job hunting process. Okay. I think when I talk to people, there's this idea that it's because, okay, this is a backstory. When I got to the US, I met some people that they've been in my school for more than 5 years, pursuing different master's degree, or like because they were scared of graduating. And I think I wasn't gonna be that, right? So can you just like talk a little bit about how you navigated the job hunting process, and if there's anything that you want people to keep in mind, especially in this crazy, crazy, crazy job market? Is there anything that you'd like to share about your process?
Okay, so I'm going to be honest. The job market is not as great as it used to be. So things are very different now. And but it doesn't mean that people are not getting jobs. People are getting jobs every day. So but then you have to start early. That one is is non-negotiable. You have to start early. So knowing that I was going to graduate soon, I think I started testing the waters like 12 months into
Oof.
graduation, to my expected date of graduation.
Oh,
I started with internships. I was testing my resume to see at least if someone would get back to me. Let me know
yeah.
if that resume is even working, because there's sometimes your resume doesn't even go through the
The
automate.
ATS.
Yes, it
Yeah.
doesn't go. So you need to even know at least, am I getting like um
Seen
this.
by humans.
Uh-huh. So
Yeah.
so it was very important. I started testing. Then when I now focused more on full-time jobs, I heard then that summer is when they start recruiting for the next year for entry-level roles, new grad roles, and all that stuff. I was like, okay. And that's when they also start recruiting for the next year's internship. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to just start now. So that June, I was ready. I was just waiting for the applications to open. So anyone I see, boom, boom. Handshake was a
Yeah.
very good one at the time.
Oh yeah,
Handshake is
yeah.
not as good as it used to be. I mean, the job market has probably impacted it, but then I preferred their interface at the time. I would just go there, apply to jobs. So it took me so I knew I was going to graduate in December at the time, but June, so it was like now 6 months. I started earlier in the year, January, with internships. Then in June, I switched over to full-time jobs, and I was just targeting entry-level roles because I did not have any substantial experience with I had experience in Nigeria, but it was not in software engineering. Like it was just internships, but not as intense. So I was like, my best bet would be to focus on entry level
Entry
roles, and
level.
specifically the ones that wrote new grad roles, because this one they're a bit
Oh.
merciful, I would say.
The requirement is not very stringent.
So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got a good number of them reached back to me saying they were going to interview or at least give me the first coding challenge and all that. And I
Yeah.
also had this Google video that I watched on how to arrange your resume, because I was also targeting to get into Google, and they reached back and all that. So
Yeah.
I also
Oh,
have a video on my channel that
I remember you almost got into. I remember you almost got that one of those fan companies.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, yeah,
Cisco. I
yeah,
got to the
yeah,
final
yeah,
round of
yeah,
Cisco. So
yeah.
even Google, when Google finally got back, like we started the process and everything, but their offer did not come early. Like we didn't go far, and I already accepted my company's offer and relocated. That was when they now came back.
Yeah.
I was like, guy, I can't do
It
this
was a good choice, actually.
because
Do you know? It was a good choice. It was a good choice. It was a good
so
choice.
God
It
was
was a good
fighting
choice.
for me because with the tech layoffs and everything, because I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
so. But anyway, to answer the question, I started early, and I can. Augustus, if you permit me, when they finish watching this video, if you're really
Yeah.
interested, I actually made a video about, because now the whole process is kind of
It's
faint,
coming back.
like it's fading. So, but then I made it because
Yeah.
my blood
What
was
I'll
still
do is
hot.
this. I'll find the video and put it in like what is it called? A
Card or something.
card.
But make
Yeah,
sure you
yeah.
finish watching this video first. You
No,
have
they
to.
will,
You must
because
finish this video first.
they will, because we're barely like 5-6 minutes into it, and there's like important information coming out already, which is really good. And I think that you answered the other thing that was coming to my mind. I was going to ask you, because internship is a very important thing in America. I was a bit unfortunate when it was in my own situation, because I applied for internship. I got one, not really, it wasn't the best of places. It was just something to be able to put an American company on my resume. I think that was very important to me at that point in time. And then COVID happened, and then they were like, don't bother to show up.
Ah.
Even we said we're closing down, so don't worry.
Oh
But
no.
yeah, but I do appreciate like some of the things that you touched on. like applying very early and just testing the waters, getting some dry runs before you get serious, because by the time you get serious, you don't want any good opportunities to just be like, oh, I messed up, I should have said this during the interview. But if you've done several of these, like just testing the water once, then you'll be good by the time the
Exactly.
serious one comes into play.
Exactly. My
So
friend said, don't start with your dream company. Don't,
facts.
like, she said, start with the ones that you're like, okay.
Yeah, that's a key advice, because I mean, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So this is the timeline. You came here, you finished your degree, you started applying for a job, you got a job, and now you're working for the company. That's where we are right now. So you're working for the company, and one of the big things that I've had to deal with, I got lucky because my first job was with a startup. They never asked me, will you require visa or anything like that.
Wow.
I just showed up day one, I gave them my OPT, life continued. They didn't even care. So my question to you was gonna be that how did you navigate that conversation, knowing that because I know you don't work for a startup, you work for a very like established company. How did you navigate that process? How did you initiate having that conversation of, hey, I have 3 years to work for you. You guys better find a way to get me on H1B. How did that go? And do you have any advice or suggestion in regards to that situation? How did you navigate that process?
Okay, so I know a lot of people have different advice, trying to get in the door and all that. But I
Yeah.
told myself, after getting in the door, what next? I don't want to live in constant fear. So it depends on you totally. If you're a team, when we get to the bridge, we'll figure it. I am not, I was like, getting a job is hard. So if I'm getting this one, it has to come with all the package, at least the minimum, which is the H1B sponsorship. I don't want the anxiety. So when I was filling all my applications, people were advising, don't put you need sponsorship, just lie. I was like, mm-mm. I just put yes. I was very open. And then when I was using Handshake also, it can help you, show you which jobs match your profile, your degree, your visa status and everything. So when I saw my job, it was like match, 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 match. And it was, so I was like, okay.
Perfect.
I applied, and then they gave me the coding challenge or whatever challenge. I think they usually give a challenge. So I did the challenge. After you pass the challenge, that's when a proper human being will now
We'll talk to you.
So they now go back to me saying that they are going to move on, and then they schedule the call with the recruiter. That was the first step. You have to talk to a recruiter. Most companies, the first thing is the recruiter will like gauge you and then weed you out, or you continue.
Or
So
go
when
to
they
manager,
when the recruiter called me, mind you, that job, when I was filling the form, I put yes, I will need sponsorship, blah blah blah. When she called me, she asked a bunch of questions, and then one of it was, "Gang gang, will you? Will you?" She now said, as if she could tell that I was. I mean, it was a
Nervous
voice
about
call, but she was, before she finished, she was like, "Oh, don't mind, like, you're an OPT, but what are you on STEM OPT or your first OPT, like the regular one?" I was not like, she not said, "Wait, this will not impact anything. We're just trying to know, what level are you on?" I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is my very first OPT." She was like, "Okay, no problem." That was, so I was like, "Okay, if there's no problem, then good." She didn't say we are going to file for you. She just said, "I just needed to know what OPT you have right now." And that was
Okay.
the first conversation about sponsorship. Then I got into the company. Then I think I got into the company in March. I got that offer back in December, but I got into the company. My start date was in March. I think we negotiated. It was open, so they were like, "Oh, there was no specific start date." They were like, "We can negotiate whenever I want to start." And we kind of came to March because that's when they will have training. This company, they like doing batch training. So
Yeah.
that was the perfect time. They fit me in. And remember, that March was when filing will start, like for the lottery.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I was just getting there. And some of my friends in other company, immediately they got the offer, they just put them in the lottery. Like they didn't wait for them. But my own was not like that. They didn't put me that year. So the next year, when time was coming, nobody reached out. I started testing my manager. How
Don't
far?
forget me, oh.
How far now? When we do our catch ups, I'll be like, I even requested for green card EB2,
Oh yeah, the
um,
NI, yeah.
but not the NIW, like the one,
Employer sponsored, yeah.
you know what they were like,
Yeah.
oh, for this company, we prefer you have H1B first before we do. That was the response. And but they said we're going to do H1B for you. So that was how I just make sure I was reminding them, so that because
Yeah.
some of these big companies, if you don't remind them, they'll just forget
You
you.
just get thrown in pile of paper.
But yeah,
So
that was
that's really
that's
good.
my story.
You see, that's good. I think more often than not, I'm so glad that I did not have to get sponsorship through that way, because I think my company would have fight for me, but then I would not be able to leave. That's number one. Number two is that it took me a while to learn. I think you do better in that regard. It took me a while to learn about American work culture, how to navigate the process. Even though when I was coming here, well, when I was in school, I understand that it's ask and you shall receive. But the practicality of that statement is much more difficult, especially in workplace where you don't want to piss off your boss, you don't want to step on anybody's toe. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm asking a professor for funding, it's different. They can either say yes or no, and I'll move on with my life. But if my boss is like, why are you pestering me for this nonsense? Then I'll have a very difficult time at work, right? So I'm glad I worked out for you that way. And
Yes.
then we should talk about workplace culture generally. Like I feel like that's one of the things that I struggled with when I started working. I was always trying to please. I was always like, it's like I had a chip on my shoulder. I don't know. Nobody put it there, but it's like I was just kind of, I was just carrying it around. I think it's just the way we've been raised. And I was gonna have us talk about how did you at any point in time struggle with adjusting to that work culture, knowing that it's just work at the end of the day, and how to interact with people to guide your approach to climbing the ladder, so to say. Do you have anything to say in that regard?
Good question. Good question. So these things, there are a lot of advice out there.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh, your work, they're not your family, oh, just do your work and get out.
Yeah.
Some people will be like, oh, be friends with your coworkers, be a human, don't be robotics.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot. For me, I had to filter and like use my my own
Sixth sense.
judgment and like, okay, this is good for me, this is not good for me. So when I joined the company, I was in this team and it was during COVID. So it was like 4 days in, 1 day from home. So I was working with, this group of people that I probably was the youngest or maybe one of the youngest. And I was just looking at everyone. I think one thing, I was just open to learn. I was just open. I came with an open mind. I did not come with they're my enemies. I did not come with they're my friends. I just came like, okay, whatever we see.
I need skills. Let me grab all the skills that I can get.
Yeah. So the first
Yeah.
team I worked with, when I was done with that team, because I came through the grad program. You see, this is why I feel like coming through the grad program really helped me, because then if you're coming through the grad program, there are expectations from you, but they also have this grace that this person is just
You're fresh off the you're a student.
this is JJCO, so everyone is
Yes.
and my company, to be fair, they have a good work culture, at least the team that I work with or I worked with
Nice.
at the time. So they were not like scary. And me, I'm also very outspoken. I believe I am outspoken. Like,
You are. That's why I said I think you do better in that regard.
so I ask questions if I don't understand. Like, I was asking a lot of questions. And one thing I did then was, all of us were scared of
Criticism.
we're scared of that thing. We're very, very scared.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to lay myself on the table for them to slaughter, for them to roast.
Yeah.
So I did a survey with my teammates. It was, looking back, I was like, what was I thinking? But it was something that opened a lot of doors. I
Yeah.
did it and I sent it to my co-workers and superiors at the time that worked with me, and I was like, rate me. I had a bunch of questions. I wish I pulled that up, but to ask them what do they think was my strength, was this, and they did the review. I discussed the review with my manager, and after the survey results came out, I discussed them with my manager on improvements, my strengths. And one of the strengths, like a lot of people said, oh, she's very open to learning. Like she's very, very open. So I think that also, and I made it anonymous so that they don't know who gave, so they were free to like review me. And another thing, when they had team lunch, I would go. I would involve myself, and I was not trying to share everything about my life, but I was also sharing some part of my life with them, like be human with them. And them too, they'll also talk, oh, this is this cool, what are you doing for the weekend, and they had all those type of things. And there will be events, they will invite me. So it's just, I think I just was open to see what was going to happen, and I made them,
Yeah.
I kind of made them feel comfortable with me. I was the only black person on that team anyway,
Yeah.
which is kind of very common if you're in America. So I was trying to
Yeah.
get I was
Yeah.
trying to get close
Facts.
to them, ask them questions. I was like, oh, you've been here, what do you think, what career advice do you have for me, what do you want to do? And some of them were elderly people too. I did ask them, you've been in this company for like 10 years, 15 years, what have you seen with the culture here, how are people react, how do people react to things, religion, like one of my coworker was very open, and he's like, oh, this type
Yeah.
of things you should not discuss. When you come to people genuinely, they can smell you.
Yeah. Yeah, so the truth of the matter is that Americans are always like very interested in sharing their life with you. You just need to find a phrase to keep the conversation going. Like, oh, what do you have planned for the weekend? That question, that can make or mar your experience on Friday or Monday. Or on Monday, somebody can walk up to you and ask you, how was your weekend? Don't say it was fine. It was fine because I did X, Y, Z. And then they will say, oh, that reminds me of blah, 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 blah. And then they'll go on and on. And I think in a way, it does really help, like you said earlier on. It helps put you in a situation where people find you approachable. They want to come have a conversation with you. So this is another shocking question for you, okay? Knowing that the job market is crazy right now, would you still like go and study computer science again? Would you do the same thing this way that you've done it up to this point, from your day one in America to this point? Would you do the same thing again?
Yes,
Really?
I will do it again. Because and I think the only thing I would change is probably my undergrad. Like I think if I could go back, I would strive to come to the US to do my undergrad. And that way I wouldn't
Okay,
even
so
need a master's or a PhD. Because
start
the
working.
undergrad program, when I was in my school, I saw their undergrad program. It was intense. Like most of them got into Google, Facebook, Meta, all of them, just straight. Like, so I would just master the skill at the very early stage, which is undergrad. Take it serious.
And make money.
Go for internships. That's the only thing I would change, but I'll still do computer science. Well, that's my answer.
That makes sense. I feel because I spend a lot of time on Reddit, where computer science is very scary in America. It's very competitive. You have Americans that are very competent. You have Indians that are extremely competent. And then you have Africans that are also very competent. Of course, you are part of those people. So in my mind, I'm like, there's no way that I want to fight with those competition. I feel like
Yeah,
in a
human
way,
being too now.
yes, you're right. Human being. I feel like biological science, it's not very difficult. There are so many people in the niche as well, but it's so broad that you can be like, oh, I'm doing biological science, I'm going to do immunology, or I'm going to do like there are like different pockets, right? So, and if you're an expert in immunology, for example, or oncology or whatever it is, somebody that is an expert in a different niche is not fighting for your job, right? If you can find that. But computer science, anybody can fight for your job.
Even people that did not go to school.
They will go to boot camp and say, hire me now.
Yeah, it is very competitive, but I
Yeah.
still believe there's room for everyone. Like if you can put yourself together and package yourself and just get ready when the right opportunity comes, and you're just ready. You just have to stay ready.
That's good. So you're hearing it here first. there is no, you can't say the competition is too much and abandon what you want to do. If it's what
Yeah.
you really want to do,
Yeah.
you should go after it regardless of who you're competing against. And the worst that can happen is you not achieving your goals.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know why, like, we just have one life, so I don't know why you want to let fear take over. Also talking to myself because sometimes we just, like, we just have this idea in our head
Hmm.
already that it's not going to work. So how is it going to work?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
because
yeah.
everything would just,
It's self sabotage, huh?
yeah, everything would just
Yeah,
lead
yeah,
to it failing because then
yeah.
subconsciously you're not doing all the right things. Because first place to win is
In your mind. Yeah,
you
that's
have to
true.
win there first.
That is a very strong nudges. The first place to win the battle is in your mind. And it's true because look at all the things that we've talked about today. First, leaving school without any backup plan, graduating
Exactly.
without any backup plan. I can tell you for free that I've conquered the idea in my head before graduating. Like I think also here because my wife was like, yeah, if my now wife, that was my girlfriend, was like, I don't know, all this PhD, I don't even want to wait for it to get a PhD. So that was the motivating force, really. Like, I'm okay, yeah, I see that. Nobody's waiting for you for 5 years. Even me, I know that if I go into a PhD program, relationship is not going to be the important thing in my
Priority.
life. Yeah.
But actually,
Okay.
you actually need the relationship then because you need a support system.
I know, but then it's gonna be, how do I say this? If you're getting a PhD and you're getting a relationship, it has to be somebody that fully supports you to get into
Yeah.
the system.
Yeah.
Not somebody that my wife, my girlfriend, now wife at that point in time was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't think
I
I
don't
want
know
to
if I
go
have the
through.
grace.
Yeah. Which is asking a lot from somebody. It's
Yeah.
5 years. Yeah,
No,
it has
that's
to be. I think people that are successful, they're probably like husband and wife in a grad program or boyfriend girlfriend in a grad program.
we're in this
Yeah,
together
they were in this together. They're like suffering and struggling together.
and
Even me,
building together.
I don't know if I would date somebody that is getting PhD because why my mates are putting money in 401k, you are asking me to sell you money. I don't want to
Yeah,
hear it.
not serious.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
you said something that is very important. I think we should wrap up with that. It's the idea of building community around yourself. In America, I think one of the things that I see a lot of people struggle with is that adjustment where you're just here by yourself. You don't have your family here. You're maybe like cousin or distant cousin. I don't know if you're lucky, but it's just you by yourself. How do you navigate that? How do you build a new sort of community around yourself to make sure that you don't feel isolated from the world? Because it's very, very easy to self-isolate in America.
Yeah.
You can,
Yeah.
yeah. Can you probably just help wrap up the video in that way where you give advice on how to build a community around yourself, the benefit of it, and we can just call it a day from that point.
Okay. So, one was when I was in school, and I'll share my experience, after school. So in school, it was more of knowing about there were graduate groups, and there were like international student groups. So I made sure to find these groups because I mean we have things in common. So the graduate society was more for regardless of wherever you're from, America, blah, 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 and you're just a graduate student. That was the common thing.
Yeah.
So they hosted events, and I went. One of the friends that I even made, and me, before I even came to the US, I already made friends. Because I went to Facebook then, I was looking for people. I know now is the job of LinkedIn. Then it
Yeah.
was Facebook. I didn't know about this other guy. So I went there, looked for my school and people that were attending that school. That was how I met some Nigerians, and I met some Indians and all that. It's one of my very good friends till now. In fact, at least two or three people. I knew them before I came. So I when I already got to come, I was like, I'm in campus now. I don't land. I'm here now. Where are you guys? I need to meet up. So these were ways, and these people, because they were here before me, they already knew one or two things. So they were carrying me along with like I landed today, the next day or two, I was already in Mount Rushmore going on a group trip. So
You
I'm
said,
just
I'm not here to play. Let's go.
so I'm like, yeah, you get the full experience. You
That's
can't
good.
isolate yourself all the time.
That's good.
And then also this international student thing, they had every Friday night, even on my channel, I've vlogged about it. Friday we'll eat, we'll play band, hangouts.
That's
I
nice.
always looked forward to it. And there was sometimes they would do potluck. So these are ways to find groups. You can ask people in your class. You can even talk to professors. Like, do you guys know, or your international student office, like, do you guys know any international group? So just ask these people, like your international office and professors. In fact, on campus, they have all these boxes where they put like newsletters and stuff, and you get to know about events. And that way, you meet people that have the same
Mhm.
interest, and you can connect with them and collect their numbers and test them. People don't like calls, so try to text
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
And if
yeah.
there are programs like that that connects international with locals, sign up for it. And for work, when I moved to Utah, and it was just me against Utah. Lost all my school friends and
Oh
back to a new
man.
place. Again, YouTube was another place that helped me connect, because there was somebody who was watching me on YouTube, and they connected with me. They're like, "Oh, Aladi, you're not in Utah, blah blah blah. I'm in this school. Da, da, da. Can we meet up?" That's how social media is a good tool as well. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
saying put your exact location, but if you say you're in a city or
Don't get
something,
snatched.
that way people can also connect with you. And another thing
Yeah,
I did was church. Like, if you want to have African friends, it's good to
yeah,
also explore African churches.
yeah.
That way, when I went there, they were doing all these events for young people as well in the church. So I met, they were doing, is it the relationship stuff, blah, blah, blah. So a lot of people were there, young people like me, and I connected with
Oh,
them,
nice,
exchanged numbers.
nice,
And then from there,
nice.
I started like, I told one of them that anytime you, I think, let me even not even go there. Dating app at the time too. I used dating app. There was a time I used it for friendship. Like, we just, there's some
Yeah.
people you just know that, oh, you're just excited to meet, but you know that romantically there's nothing.
It's not
Both
gonna
of us
happen.
just
Yeah,
know. So I told one of them, or a
yeah,
couple of them, I was like, oh, actually, if there's any event you're going to, please invite me. This guy
yeah.
Femi, I will never forget him. Like, I told him, if you have any events, like, he was so outgoing and everything. So I was
Yeah.
like, I think he was the one that connected me with almost everyone I knew. So
All your
like,
friends.
he was so social. Like,
Yeah,
he's a Muslim
yeah.
guy. Like, he knows everyone, and he was so open. He was like, Aladi, they get every time he's sending me fly. Aladi, there's this
Event
event,
to do.
and I would go. And to my surprise, I'll meet
Yeah,
people there, and I was like,
yeah.
guy, that
Expand
was
your
how.
community.
Tell
I
people,
think
you
that's
can tell people actually that I'm open. Invite me
yeah,
and go
yeah,
when they
yeah.
invite you. Don't if you decline one, two, three. They'll be like, this one is not
It's not
serious.
serious. Yeah, I think for me it has never been a problem, and I like what you've shared. It has never been a problem because hey, true and true. I don't like people like that. I can live in my own space for 1,001 years. So, but I've seen people have issues where like people get depressed
Yeah.
because it's a at least the very first 2 years in America or anywhere, even if you're moving to US, Canada, UK, Australia, anywhere, the first 2 years, unless you're coming in with bucket load of money, even if you are, it's always very rough because you're in a new terrain. It's like you're a newborn baby with an adult brain. You're learning
Exactly.
how to navigate the whole space. But I think you've shared some really important things, and I really appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
Right. And well, I just want to say thank you really because this video served two purposes, right? The first is all these things that you're sharing. I think month and years from now, somebody's gonna watch it and it's gonna benefit from it. That's number one. Number two, it also give us chance to catch up. I don't think we've spoken like this in a while, so which is good.
100
But
years.
yes, 1 million years. But thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
And thank you too.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support, because you guys, Augustus has been like the day one members of the chat. I was
Hey.
watching one of my old videos and I saw your comments when you were saying, "Oh, I'm coming soon to University of this." Da, da,
Yeah.
da.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, we go way back." And I was looking at like 5 years ago or something. The comments was
I
like, "I'm like, what? Have
know.
I been on YouTube this long?"
I know. In my notes on this computer, I have 5 years in America as a title.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, it's just like that's not gonna be the title because I think we've spoken about so many things that would make a really good title. But when you said 5 years, I'm like, oh, I have 5 years in America here. Time really
As
travel
in,
fast. Like 5 years.
and you've
That's
been
crazy.
consistent, so thank you too for your support for the yearly.
Well,
support.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Okay, well, guys, that's it. Don't forget to like, subscribe,
Yes.
and share the video. I'm also gonna put some of the videos that she mentioned in the comment box or in the card thing. There's so many things that we talked about that I think you're gonna benefit from following up and watching those videos. But until next time, bye.
Bye, guys.